What's up, family? Welcome to another week of me documenting my trading journey so that way you guys can hopefully learn from it. And as I mentioned in my last video, this is really for me for journaling purposes so that way I can look back on it and learn from my mistakes. But moving forward, I really want these videos to be like more shorter rather than longer. My last video was like 40 minutes and the one before that was like 30. So I'm gonna try to be as to the point as possible on this one. But without further ado, let's dive right in. Give me one sec. All right, so here we go. So this past week in the markets, I ended up taking four trades. And unfortunately, this was a losing week for me. I took my three trades were break even and one trade was an L. But nonetheless, all of the trades were great trades to take, even the ones that were break even. Like, cause you'll see when I break it down, like it literally like two or three of them literally tagged me at that break even and went in profit. So it's not really much I can do in that case. But let's dive right in. So as you guys know, I usually start off my analysis on the daily time frame, and my first trade of the week was on AUDJPY. We can see that price is extremely bullish here. Just looking at market structure, price is creating higher highs and higher lows each time. And then if we go down to our 4 hour time frame, this is where we can see structure a little bit more in depth, and we can even draw structure out just so that way when we get to those lower time frames, we can understand where we are within the market and see our trades play out. So I drew out structure here for you. We have higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and price is currently on this bullish run, just creating a higher high based off of this 4 hour time frame. So going into this day, this was Monday, the 12th. I knew I was bullish. I'm extremely bullish. I'm only looking for buys because I know that on the higher time frame, we're starting to create that higher high point. And then on top of that, we broke above this 4 hour level of support and resistance and structure, giving me more confirmation that we want to continue on this bullish run that we're on for this day specifically. So now, since I understand where we are within the market on the 4 hour time frame, I'm gonna hop down to the 1 hour time frame. So now hopping down to the 1 hour time frame, it's not like us seeing what's going on with the minor structure isn't as clear. So in this case, I'm usually bouncing back and forth between the 1 hour and 30 minute time frame. Maybe in certain situations, the 15 minute time frame, so that way I can see structure a little bit more in depth and see what this bullish leg is currently doing. So I'm gonna hop down to my 30 minute time frame, and this is where we can see structure and we can see this uptrend a lot more clearly. So we have higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and then higher low, and price created a higher high. And obviously, whenever we're looking for buys, we want to buy low. And so I'm looking to buy at the next higher low point. So in order for me to spot that next higher low point, after we made this higher high on this 30 minute time frame, you can see it even more clearly on the 15 minute time frame. I waited for a retracement to come down into this level that I have drawn out. And the reason why this level was significant to me was because, for one, we broke above this high, and when we broke above this high that's right here with these candles, it was the indication to me that price wanted to continue further up. And then price retraced, and it retraced into this 5 minute level of support and resistance that I have drawn out right here, on top of the fact that we had this 5 minute trend line that price was bouncing off of. So I had several confluence to take this trade. Everything was pointing towards buys, and I know I'm at a potential higher low point for price to then continue to trade up and trade along with this 4 hour trend in order for me to create this higher high. So the only thing I need now is my entry signal, and so I ended up entering on this 10-minute time frame here. I entered on this 10-minute candlestick, this bullish engulfing, and then I put my stop loss right below this low. And the reason why I put my stop loss right below this low was because if price proceeded to trade down below this low, this would have been a break of structure, and the uptrend would have been over at this point. So at this point, you always want to put your stop loss where you're always confirmed wrong on the trade. So this was pretty safe, giving this enough room to fluctuate in case price wanted to play around at this level or spike down. This was in a safe area for me to then continue to trade up. And so I popped my entry right there. I'm gonna let price play out for you. Price shot in profit. I didn't spend too much time in drawdown. As you guys can see, price hit my first TP. Let me bring down my risk to reward tool. Price hit my TP, and my first TP is always either going at a 1-to-1 or a 1 to 1.5. In this case, it was at a 1-to-1. And it really depends on the scenario. It depends on the situation. Maybe I'll talk about that at a different point in time. But that's where I put my stop loss. And then after, that's where I put my first TP. And then after price hit my first TP, especially with strong momentum, I went to break even. So I moved my stop loss here at break even. And then let the rest of it play out for you. As you can see, price came down and tagged me out at break even. And then right after it tagged me out at a break even, you see it shot up all the way and hit literally all my TPs. So that's unfortunate, especially at this point in time on a Monday. If you guys saw my video from last week, I had literally all my trades from last week stopped me out at break even and then went in my direction. It's the most frustrating thing. But especially with the market just kind of getting back to normal after the holiday season, like it's nothing really we can do about it except for just be patient and understand that even though we're breaking even, it's not a loss, one, and then two, we know that our equity curve will be positive in the long run. You need to stick with your strategy because it works and you just got to see it through. But that was that trade. Now the next trade I took on the week was on GU on Tuesday. So, hold on, went a little bit too far ahead. All right, so boom, starting off here on the daily time frame. We can see that price overall, it looks bullish. And so going on to this daily time frame, mind you, this day that I ended up taking my trade on was not here. So this is all like up to this bullish candle. That's pretty much all I saw, and maybe like a partial of this candle starting to create this wick down. But if we look at structure on this 4-hour time frame, it looks bullish, and it looks like on this daily time frame, it looks bullish, and it looks like price may be potentially starting to transition. But we don't really know that until we go down to the lower time frames. But I usually mainly use this daily time frame to see what the previous candlestick is doing, and also to mark off my daily levels of support and resistance. So after doing that, I hop down to my 4-hour time frame, and this is where we can see structure a lot more in depth. We see the bullish trend, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and then we can see that shift in structure, right? We can see that after this higher high was created, price came all the way down, trading lower than this low, and indicating to me that this was a potential shift in structure, and because we had this break of this higher low point. So after we see a break of structure on to go to the downside, the next thing that we can anticipate happening is a lower high point. And based off of this 4 hour time frame, if we like, I had numerous confluence in order for me to predict that this area was where we were going to see that lower high point being formed. For one, we're trading at this 4 hour level of support and resistance. For two, we're also at this daily level of support and resistance. For three, if we draw, we can draw a counter trend line. So point A, point B, and then point C. Price broke this trend line, came back to touch the backside of it, giving us validation that this area had another reason why this area was a high level of confluence for me to look to take sales here. And then also, if we draw our fibs, after price broke structure, the retracement came about 50%. Now, when it comes to Fibonacci, the only reason I really use fibs is to like give me projection levels. So I do think that just based off of back testing and my strategy, using these projection levels, price tends to hit these levels very frequently depending on where how deep price retraces. And so usually when price goes to the 50%, I'm usually taking it to the negative 27%. And keep in mind, this is on the 4 hour time frame. We don't trade off of the 4 hour time frame, but we want to get an understanding of what those higher time frames are doing, so that way we can hop down to the lower time frames and take advantage of it. And so going down to my 1 hour time frame, when we started to get in this area, we understand that based off, well, let me hop back to the 4 hour time frame and draw it out for you guys. So lower low, lower high. So on the lower time frame, I'm looking at this move up and I'm trying to analyze structure based off of this move up. And similar to the last trade, if you can't really identify structure as easily based off this 1 hour time frame, hop down to the 30-minute time frame. Your job is to spot structure, because structure is king, and then take advantage of it from there. So just looking at structure in this minor time frame, well, this lower time frame, minor structure, in this way, in this bullish move up, you can see structure create. Price broke structure right here at this point: higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. And then price came down, traded below this low first, and then this low. This low was the official break of structure because this was the last higher low point. But this low was also significant because it is a significant significant low. So after we saw that break of structure, confirming that we wanted to respect this level and start to trade towards the downside, we always want to sell at lower high points. We want to sell high. And so all I did was waited for a lower high point to be formed after this break of structure. And you can see here at 8:30 we had this big spike up, and this was because there was news. I forgot what news had came out, but this was on Tuesday. If you want to go back and check on Forex Factory what news it was, but price ended up creating a lower high here. And usually when it's a huge candlestick like this, like just leaving a huge wick, I typically ignore it because it's just a liquidity grab. But it doesn't necessarily mean that price is going to start trading in the opposite direction. So I took that for what it was, and I ended up entering here based off of this 30-minute bearish variation pattern. And the only reason I entered right here, and it was late as well, because the candle closure was right here, but the only reason I entered here was because I was in a meeting at work, and like it kind of just fucked me up. It was hard for me to escape and enter this trade on time. But just looking at it based off the 30-minute time frame, it still looked like it was a good trade even off of this 30-minute time frame, and all TPs could get hit because of my projection levels based off of the higher time frame. Now, if I was actively on the charts, I would have completely entered right here on the 10-minute on this 10-minute time frame. Just looking at this bearish engulfing candlestick, I would have popped my entry right here and then put my stop loss probably in the same area. And it was closer to the accurate lower high point, whereas this already traded below this low. So this was already starting to create a lower low, opposed to getting in closer to the predicted lower high point. So this is where I wanted to enter, but this is where I entered just because I was in a meeting. I was pissed, but nonetheless, it was still a solid trade. And then just to go over the other forms of confluence that I have, we can see that at this level, we also have a double top. If you know your chart patterns, double tops is a strong indication that we want to continue on with the sell sell side momentum. And then on top of that, on this lower time frame, you can see that what else is there? So on top of that, you can see this structure a little bit more in depth and how it transitioned from that uptrend to that downtrend. And so after I pop my entry, I'm gonna let the trade play out for you. Price ended up hitting my TP1, and then right after I hit my first TP, that's when I moved my stop loss to break even, like always. And then right after that, price came and tagged me out at break even. And then right after that, price shot down again and hit all my TP levels. And it's frustrating because at this point now, there's like 4 trades in a row that I've had stop me out at break even and then go in my direction. But as you guys can see, I'm right damn near every time with my moves in the direction. It's just I'm getting stopped out at break even. And if maybe the markets continue to be how they are, maybe I'll change my rules to where I'm only going to break even after a 1 to 2, because you guys see that it's going in my direction every time. But I just can't. I don't know what's going on right now. But that's that trade on GU. My third trade of the week was on NZD USD on Wednesday. Let me break that down for you now. Now, this trade was a loser, and despite it being a loser, it was still a great trade. I would take it 10 times out of 10 because I had tons of confluence, and it's just we can't win them all, but it was a great trade nonetheless. So starting off in the daily time frame, we can see structure pretty clear. We can see price was once on this downtrend, and then after this downtrend, price started to shift towards this uptrend. This was the break of structure, so higher high, higher low, higher high. This was the last higher low point, but then price came and started to trade below it, and so confirming that maybe we want to continue on with the bearish trend. And you can see it a lot more in depth based off of this 4-hour time frame. So this was the break of structure, and then after the break of structure to the downside, we can anticipate a lower high being formed. So this was that lower high or potential lower high point, and there was confluence in this area for this to be the actual lower high point, confirming that we want to continue down and possibly trade lower. Because if we look at the confluence based off of this 4-hour time frame, we can see this counter trend line, point A, point B, and then we broke structure as well as the trend line here, and started to trade towards the backside of it and respected it. So that was one form of confluence. Another form of confluence was this trend line that we can see here, point A, point B, and then point C. And then as well as the fact that price overall is on a downtrend. So based off this 4-hour time frame, it was clear to me that price wanted to continue down. So it was up to me to figure out where I can get in on this bearish leg in order to continue to see price trade down. So as soon as going into Wednesday, as soon as price started to trade below this 4-hour level of support and resistance, all I anticipated happening was a simple break of this level, a retest of this level, in order to see price trade lower. And mind you, this is on the 4-hour time frame. We don't trade on the higher time frames. We just need to understand what's going on the higher time frames in order for us to capitalize on the lower time frames. So This move up on the lower time frame is what I'd be looking to track in order for me to see the shift of structure in order to take price lower. So I'm gonna go down to the 1 hour. Going down to the 1 hour, we can't really see this downtrend structure all that well. So in this case, I'm gonna hop down to my 30-minute time frame. Now in this 30-minute time frame, we can see it a lot more clear. So we can see lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And then price broke structure at this point. So this was the move up that I was talking about. It's this same move up. We saw the break of structure here, creating a higher high, higher low, higher high. And then at this point, this is our bullish structure. So in order for me to continue to take trades to the downside, I would need to see a shift in structure confirming my bearish bias. And so as soon as price traded below this last higher low point, this was the break of structure to the downside, and it was the indication to me that this level is being respected. So now, in order for me to hop in on sales, all I need to see is a lower high point in order for me to take price further to the downside. So, as you guys know, I'm entering on my lower time frames. So now at this point, I'm literally just looking to see where I can get in and where price is gonna create that lower high point. And I'm just looking at my levels of support and resistance on these lower time frames in order to help better gauge for me where that lower high point could be, because it could happen right now, it could retrace further and happen later. Didn't mean to do that. So it's up to me to kind of anticipate where that's going to be. So I ended up entering, I fast forwarded a little bit too far, but I ended up entering right here on this 5-minute bearish engulfing candlestick because we had a retest of this 5-minute level of support and resistance. And then I ended up putting my stop loss right here above this high because it was the last lower high point. And if I wanted to be absolutely safe, maybe I could have put my stop loss a little bit higher, like up here. But I feel like this was plenty of room in order for me to let price play out. But this was the trade. Price went in my direction for a little bit and then stopped me out. So even though this was an L trade, I still do think that price can still be bearish. And so going into this upcoming week in the markets, what I'd be looking for, if price is truly bearish like the trend shows, I'd be looking for literally the same thing. I'd want to see price break below this level, come up to retest. I'll track that on the lower time frame, then I'll try to take price lower. Because even though this is bearish and it didn't play out for me the first time, maybe it just wasn't ready yet. As you can see, price consolidated before it spiked up a little bit, and now it looks like price wants to continue down, especially because we have another reaction off of this trend line on top of the fact that we're also reacting off of this 4-hour level of support and resistance. So all this is telling me is that price is still bearish. I just need to hop in wherever the trend and wherever market structure is telling me to hop in at. And then my final trade for the week was on AU. And this was another break-even trade. It was still a great trade for me to take, and I'll bring it down real quick. So starting off on the daily time frame here, price is clearly bullish. Like there's no reason for me to look for sales when price is this bullish. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and then potential higher low point, as well as bouncing off a daily level of support and resistance. Now on this 4-hour time frame, we can also see that we're trading at a 4-hour level of support and resistance, on top of the fact that we're at this same level where we have the daily support and the 4-hour support. Price appears to be creating higher highs every single time at this level, on top of the fact that if we draw a trend line, we can see it's touching point A, point B, point C. Everything is trending up still. So I have no reason to be looking for sales until we get a break below this last higher low point. My mind is just strictly on buys. And so because I understand what's going on this higher time frame, it's now my job to hop down to the lower time frame, see a shift of structure in order for me to continue to take price in the bullish direction. So on the 1 hour time frame, this is where we can see things a little bit more in depth. Now, this trade isn't as clear cut, maybe I guess I would say, as the last trades, because we have structure being a little bit weird here. But if you look at price most recently, it gave you enough structure to see what was gonna happen at during this day. And so we have lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And so this was the last lower high point. After we broke structure here, this was the indication, this was the indication to me that price wanted to continue up and respect this level and this higher time frame trend line. And so this was the indication. And then price corrected. As I'm tracking this correction, I saw how price started to respect this 15-minute level of support and resistance as well. On top of the fact that we have this counter trend line here. So point A, point B, drag it into the future. And then we can see price broke above this, which was the break of structure right here. And also price, price broke above the structure point and broke this trend line, and then came back to retest the backside of it, making it a valid counter trend line. So I ended up entering here off of this 15-minute bullish variation pattern because we can see price action respect this level, starting to trade up, as well as trade to the upside with momentum. So I entered right at 10 o'clock. And mind you, this is on Friday. No, this is on Thursday. I entered this trade. Now let me let it play out for you. This is on Thursday. This whole entire time I'm holding the trade. Let me go to the higher time frame. I'm holding the trade, held the trade through London. So at this point, we're in New York. On Friday. And I ended up, as soon as I saw price started to trade down at this point, I put my stop loss at break even, and then price stopped me out at break even. And the reason why I put my stop loss at break even though I didn't get to my 1-to-1, was because we know that it's Friday. The market closed at 5 o'clock. At this point, this is about 8 a.m. And I knew that a whole lot of volume wasn't going to step into the market because the market's going to close at 5 o'clock. So me just like being on my toes, there was no point for me to have any more money floating in the market if there's no volume. So I put my stop loss at break even, and price stopped me out at break even. But nonetheless, I do think that this was a good trade, and I'm still bullish on AU. And the only way I would change my bias is if on this 4-hour time frame. Let me see. This is the next level. The only way I'll change my bias is if we get a break below, breaking this last, hold on, let me erase that. Is if we get a break below and then a retest in order to take down to at least that level. And the reason why I'd want to see a break below is because this is the last higher low point within this higher time frame structure. So if we break structure on the higher time frame, that'll be the first indication to me that we can see a reversal here. And then I'll just track that correction on the lower time frame and get in on sales and ride it to my next level. Simple as that. But I hope I was able to break these trades down in a simple and digestible manner for you all. But that's pretty much all I have for this week. And I look forward to seeing you guys again next week. But thank you. Peace out.